Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. We gotta get into this leftist incompetence. There's too much going on. And especially with this administration, there's too much to cover. There's too much BS going on. Too much incompetence. It's kind of hard to keep up in a way. You know, we get so distracted and so focused, so sidelined by so many different things that we end up losing focus on some of the most important topics. Can't always be talking about the southern border because there's so much going on, but the southern border crisis continues to rage, and this administration continues to prove to the world exactly how dumb, corrupt, and frankly evil they really are. So today we're talking about the southern border as a new breaking bombshell number was just released by the federal government relating to the cost of this crisis. Let's get into Joe Biden's southern border crisis, one of the many that continues to rage on. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so recently we got all the October numbers, and yep, it's pretty much as bad as you might expect. CBP is announcing over 1,000 known gotaways. That's just the people that they know that got away. In terms of the total number of people apprehended at the southern border, we're talking about 196,000 people, a 2.9% increase over the prior month. So the crisis continues with over 2 million border apprehensions a year, or at least we're on pace for over 2 million in fiscal year 2023. That's, by the way, the third year of this pace. And during such sensitive economic times and during times of high interest rate debt, not only for regular people, not only for businesses, but for the federal government, you know, what we should be focused on probably during times like these is budgeting and downsizing, mitigating as much damage as possible. But what this administration is doing is creating more crises like this southern border crisis, adding a huge and astronomical extra level of taxpayer spending during such sensitive times. Take a look at this.
Stuart, we have new numbers, a new report from the U.S. House Committee on Homeland Security majority. They say the price tag per year is $451 billion. That is both for the housing and care of the asylum seekers as well as those known gotaways.
Housing and care for illegal immigrants is now costing American taxpayers $451 billion per year. $451 billion, people. Are we paying attention yet? Do you know how much you can do with $451 billion taxpayer dollars? Do you understand that that's pretty much enough money to take care of every single veteran in the nation? Do you understand that that's enough taxpayer dollars to solve the public education crisis that's happening in the most vulnerable of communities? Do you understand how many civic centers, sports complexes, parks, cleaning services, I mean, the list goes on. Do you understand how much can be done for inner city communities with that amount of money? But instead, we're wasting it on a crisis that shouldn't be happening in the first place and is only happening because of this ignorant, incompetent, stupid, evil administration. And it's not even just me saying that. Here's the spokesperson for the Texas Department of Public Safety. This is the guy at the southern border, Lieutenant Chris Olivares. This is the guy that sees the reality on the ground every single day.
This compared to the group that you're seeing here as a steady stream of migrants continue to head to Eagle Pass. This train was seen leaving Central Mexico yesterday and is expected to arrive in the city across from me this week. I want to bring in Lieutenant Chris Olivares. You brought us along last night. We saw that video of the train there. Do we know when that train's expected to arrive, and what happens when it does arrive to the city just across from us?
Well, typically it's what we see when we see these type of caravans. The method of transportation is usually trains. So once they make it to the northern part of Mexico, they'll get broken up into smaller groups, and then we'll see them cross between the ports of entry. Now, we do expect the train to arrive very soon, but of course, we've been seeing a constant flow here in Eagle Pass with illegal immigrants crossing between ports of entry. And when we talk about the gotaways, you talk about the sheer number of people that are crossing. Well, the taxpayer, the communities here in Eagle Pass are having to shoulder that burden. And it's our responsibility as a state to try to prevent some of these illegal crossings. But as long as the federal government continues to incentivize illegal immigration, we're going to continue seeing this flow of illegal immigration between ports of entry and also these trains and caravans making their way to the border.
Thank you so much.
It's a constant flow, and the federal government is incentivizing it. The people on the ground can see the obvious. This is a Joe Biden manufactured crisis, and it's done on frickin' purpose. It's an illegal human smuggling, Democrat voter smuggling operation that you are paying for to the tune of $500 billion a year. Let that frickin' settle in. And when I tell you that what you're funding is a Democrat operation to import voters, I'm not just telling you that because it's a theory. I'm telling you that because the Biden administration is essentially admitting the quiet part out loud.
It also doesn't address the other sort of elephant in the room, which is dealing with the undocumented immigrants who are already here in the nation. And I know it's been a political football as to trying to figure out the best way to address that. But I'm going to ask you, what is the best way to address that from your perspective?
The answer is quite clear and quite straightforward, and we've been waiting for it for about 30 years. And that is to fix a system that everyone agrees is fundamentally broken, and we need congressional action, both for the lawful pathways that really need to be more robust in statute, and for the 12 million people who are here in the United States who have been contributing so fundamentally to our country's well-being. They're our neighbors, our friends, our fellow congregants. They provide our frontline workers. We need to do something, and I am hopeful and remain hopeful that Congress will do it. The president, on his first day in office, presented Congress with a proposal.
Essentially amnesty. When he talks about immigration reform, a broken immigration system, he's not referring to the arduous process of becoming an American citizen, the garbage lottery system. He's not talking about that. He's talking about amnesty. He's talking about DACA. People who are already here, working, contributing to our communities, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's great. You know, it seems nice to say, and in theory it's nice, but in reality, if you think about it, those people are not a priority when it comes to legislation or government policy. Those are people whose first act in the nation was disrespecting the nation's laws and skipping ahead of the line, taking somebody else's place who was trying to immigrate legally. And these are people, in many cases, who work in the community but work under the table for cash, don't pay taxes, and then take that money, or at least a chunk of it, and send it to their home country for their family to use. We're not talking about people who are contributing. We're talking about people who are applying downward pressure on wages, people who are taking jobs away from American citizens, people who broke the law, and people who are taking spots that other legal immigrants are fighting for. Amnesty. Give me a frickin' break. And this rhetoric proves Lieutenant Olivares correct that the federal government is incentivizing the illegal immigration that we're seeing. What Alejandro Mayorkas just said, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Joe Biden's immigration guy just said, was essentially that the Democrat Party and that the Joe Biden administration is working tirelessly to benefit those who enter the country illegally and eventually grant them citizenship or the right to work. What does that say to the world? That is a message to all the coyotes, all the cartels, to continue their operations in South America, using Joe Biden and his promises of amnesty as a marketing shtick to continue these operations of smuggling millions of people a year into the United States illegally. It is a direct incentive because they want Democrat voters. Eventually, they want to grant amnesty to the probably, I don't know, at this point it's probably like over 30 million illegal immigrants in the United States, which would then ensure Democrat reign indefinitely. It's completely insane. It's unsustainable. It's evil because we're playing with people's lives. We're promoting false promises to desperate migrants in poor countries, promoting this idea that everything's going to be peachy and swell for them. They're going to go through the court system. They're going to be able to work in America. That's not the case. That isn't going to happen. The Democrats are creating a cheap labor underclass, subverting the interest of low-skilled American workers and in some cases even high-skilled American workers. And all of it, this ridiculous political racket, this vie for power, all on your expense, on your dime, to the tune of $500 billion. These are the people who say, we're ethical and we care about people. They're trying to import cheap slave labor that will vote for them indefinitely, that they can control, that they can manipulate, they can promise things to. They're trying to import a dependent, poor voter base as after they broke the law, and they're trying to make you pay for it. That's the reality. Oh, such kind, compassionate people. No, Democrats are just as manipulative and evil as they always are. And this is simply more proof if you understand the dynamic. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.